Good evening, everyone. Hope you had a great bank holiday weekend, and thanks very much for joining us this evening. My name is Jonathan Bratmansky, and I'll be helping to host the webinar this evening. Just to let you know, we have upgraded the Pika website, so please do check out the new website. You can see it on the screen, www.pica.uk.com. So if you've got spare 5 minutes, please go on there and let us know your thoughts. So I'd like to pass over to Peter, who will be presenting this evening.
Hi everybody, great to see you here again. Lovely to be back. We've missed the last few weeks when we haven't been doing them, so we had to come back and do one really. We couldn't wait. It's great to see the regular faces back, but it's also great to see a lot of new faces, and that's really inspiring. We love that. So let me introduce myself. The regulars, of course, know who I am, but you just bear with me. My name is Peter Hogan. I'm a businessman. I'm a property investor of 36 years. I'm an author of 6 books with 2 more on the way. I'm a mentor and an educator. I love what I do. I've got no intention of retiring or giving up. And I just love teaching other people and taking people who've got a dream and helping them to fulfill that dream and build a property portfolio. And that's it. So, John, over to you.
Great stuff. Thanks, Peter. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jonathan Bratmansky, and a bit of background about myself. I'm involved in marketing. I've got a first-class honours degree in marketing, advertising, public relations, and I'm the MD of Adept Marketing Services, so a marketing agency based in the West Midlands. And again, marketing is so much about what value can you give to your audience, your customers, and communication as well. So are you communicating the right messages? So that's something that hopefully I can help with this evening as well, being the host. So that's me in a nutshell. So thank you, and over to you, Peter.
Okay, yeah, like we say, if you've got any questions, please write them in the chat box. We'll answer those at the end of the session, and that means we don't get diverted from what we're talking about. That'll be fantastic. Okay, I want to ask you all a question. Why are you here? Why are you here? A daft question? No, not at all, but it is important. You're here because you want to learn something and you want to learn it from me, right? Good, because I'm going to teach you all you know, or you need to know. Let me ask you another question. If you could have lots more of just one thing in life, what would that be? Now, 95% of people, when asked that question, give the same answer. It's money. 95% of people want more money in life than anything, happiness or health or anything else. That's why you're here. You're not here because you want a better complexion, or to be taller, or to be as good looking as me. No, you're here because you want more money and you want to make it through property investing, right? Now, I don't know everyone present here this evening, but I do know you're interested in property investing, but not to what extent you're involved. Now, you could be a seasoned pro, or you could be an absolute beginner without even one property yet, but it doesn't matter because everybody can learn from this. All right, well, let's consider what many people think is the best, quickest and cheapest route into property investing. Rent to rent and then conversion to HMOs, right? Well, it does have advantages over buying in that it's quicker. You don't need huge amounts of money or a pristine credit rating, but it's far from perfect and certainly not cheap. The first problem is that you're paying rent, and that could be high. And in order to make a profit, you need to rent an ordinary house and add value by converting it to an HMO, which can be expensive, particularly if your ST is only for the usual 3 to 5 years. And not forgetting, of course, Article 4 and other license fees, and they're often on a per room basis these days, and we're getting more and more widespread. Also, if this is your route into property, you're unlikely to have the finance to provide the high-end co-living spaces people are now coming to expect and which we've covered, with the result that your tenants are likely to be at the lower end of the spectrum, bring with it all the problems you'd expect. I know because I've been there and I've done that. So how do you build an amazing property portfolio with very little cash outlay, higher than average rental income, no voids, no maintenance, no management fees, whilst gaining equity from a property you will sell, which you don't even own? You're going to get equity from a profit from the sales of a property that you don't even own. That's crazy. It doesn't get much better than that, does it? And that's why you're here this evening. That's what you want to know, and that's what I'm going to show you. Right, let's start at the very beginning, and that is how to get a house. Well, it's really pretty simple. Just go and buy one, right? Yes, it is if you've got the money, and that's how I got started in property. So maybe I should explain how I did that, just so that you know. It was in mid-March 1986, and I lived in Jersey at the time. I had my own building company, and we were doing well. Now, remember, it was a Thursday evening, one Thursday evening about 6:30, and we'd had dinner. My wife was watching Home and Away, and I just finished reading the evening paper. I just suddenly had an idea, one of those light bulb moments. Why don't I buy another house and let the rooms out? So I picked the paper up and I turned to the back pages. I looked through the properties for sale in the back page of the Evening Post, the Jersey Evening Post, and there was a suitable property there. It was a three-bed terraced house in St Helier, and crucially the loft had already been converted, so I could make that into 5 bedrooms, and it was offered at £24,000. So I did some numbers in the margin of the paper and decided it worked, so I was in. However, in 1986, property investment was nothing like it is today. There were no books on the subject, no investor meetings, no gurus, no courses, and in fact, buy-to-let mortgages didn't even exist. We didn't have anything. We didn't even have computers to speak of. So I was going to have to figure out how to do it on my own, but I didn't think it looked so difficult. So I decided to talk to my solicitor. And the next morning, the Friday morning, I called him and I made an appointment to see him. Now, when we met on the following Monday, I explained to him what I wanted to do, and he seemed interested. Then he said to me the words I'll never forget. He said, "I have a client who has some money to invest. Would you like me to have a word with her?" I said, "Oh, yes, please." So, well, why would you, wouldn't you? So a few days later, he called me back. He said, "I've got some good news for you. You can have as much as you want, up to £1 million, on a drawdown facility at 10%. Well, I couldn't believe it. Given that at the time, the bank rate in the UK was a whopping 16%, this was a gift. I agreed, and 9 days later, my wife and I owned that house. That is a house. It was the first house we bought. My wife had owned that 15 days in total from having the idea to owning the house. There's a lesson there. 15 days from the initial idea to owning a house. And that was at a time when there wasn't much public knowledge about how to do it, unlike today. The moral of the story, just get stuck in and get it done. Don't waste time messing around and overthinking stuff. Just get in and get it done. 4 weeks later, we bought another one in St Helier for £35,000, again with that lady's money. We never looked back. What I'd done there, besides finding a way into property investment, which nobody knew as a strategy because it wasn't widely known about, I'd actually find a way of doing it with OPM, other people's money, that I'd never heard about. And it just came through speaking to my solicitor. So there's a tip for you. You don't know if your solicitor or any other solicitor has got clients who've got money to invest, and almost all of them do, I find, since found out. So my yield on that house was 22.5%, and we sold it 18 months later for £96,000. Remember, we bought it for 24,000. We sold it 18 months later for £96,000. So we made a £72,000 capital gain in just 18 months, and there is no capital gains tax in Jersey, as you probably know. And that's when I realised what a good business property investment is to be in, and it's only got better. Now, one thing you'll probably pick up on tonight is that I'm not a guy who sits around worrying about things. If I have an idea, I'm able to rationalise it quickly, then I take action. And once I've taken action, I then have tunnel vision until it's achieved. I just go for it. And so many opportunities are lost by people sitting around forever and a day, overthinking things and worrying about every little detail until either they've sort themselves out of it or someone else grabbed it. If nothing else, learn that lesson tonight. I'm going to tell you a little story to illustrate that, what I mean. Imagine that you're deciding you want to go to Spain, but instead of flying, you want to drive down there. So you get your car all loaded up, and Saturday morning you're going to leave, and you got your front door. Now, what you don't see is a sign, a road sign saying Barcelona and a little arrow, do you? No, you don't know which way to go. You know you've got to get down to a channel port and get a ferry over to Europe. First thing you've got to do. So what you're going to decide, or what you've decided already, is which port you're going to go to and book your ferry. So you drive down there and you get your ferry and you go across and you land in France. Now you get off the ferry in France, and there's not a sign with a little arrow saying Barcelona this way. You've got to make your route down all the way through France, and it's not till you get 50 kilometers from Barcelona that you actually see a sign on the motorway saying Barcelona. You've got to make your way there without knowing how you're going to get there. And it's the same in everything you do in life. You don't have to know how to get to your final destination before you start. And this is a big problem. This is a big fault people do. They worry themselves silly, worrying, oh, we're going to, what if we can't get on the ferry? What if we miss the ferry? Maybe we better book a guest house. You know, they worry about everything. And it spoils things, and it stops them achieving stuff. So don't overthink stuff. Don't go around doing that kind of stuff. Just, if once you've got an idea, get on with it, because that's how you get results. And that's how people who become successful have done it, by just having an idea, getting on with it and doing it, not worrying about it. Okay, so I bought my first houses, but that was because that was the only way of building a portfolio in those days. There was no other way. Today, we have a way of controlling property without having to actually buy it. And that's a strategy known as lease options. Now, let me tell you something, and you need to remember this. Lease options are a strategy sent by God to help us poor property investors to become rich, and it's our duty to use them. Remember that. Lease options are a strategy sent by God to help us poor property investors to become rich. It's our duty to use them. So use lease options. Seriously, you'll never find a better way of building your portfolio than using lease options. And I know, because I've completed 96 lease option deals now and countless assists of my students. Now, for those of you who don't know, and there's a lot of new people here tonight, I discovered lease options in America many years ago, and then started using them over here. And yes, it was Donald Trump who got me started. Not personally, of course, I never met him, but I read one of his books some years ago where he explains how he acquired huge properties in Manhattan without buying them. He controlled them using lease option contracts and became a billionaire doing it. Well, that blew me away. Now, Donald Trump says, control everything, own nothing. And that's where he's smart. You know, think what you like about Donald Trump. He's a billionaire and he made it through being smart. Control everything, own nothing. Options are a way of piggybacking a vendor's existing mortgage to control a property and profit from it without having to go through the mortgage process yourself. The benefits of this will be obvious. There's no need to type your cash in a mortgage deposit. There's no fees to pay. There's no surveyors to pay. There's no credit rating checks involved. There's no long time scale involved. You can even be bankrupt and do it. Well, this was a eureka light bulb moment for me. And it all sounds so easy. And I figured out that, well, if it works over there in the USA, it should work here too, right? Even though no one here knew about them. So I piled in and I got started. Well, it wasn't easy. I knew the basic idea, but I didn't really know how to find suitable properties or how to negotiate them. And I even had problems having a contract drawn up as well, because no solicitors in the UK knew what a lease option contract was or how to write them. And to be honest, not many do today. I spent 6 months driving around the country visiting real estate agent after real estate agent, and I didn't do a single deal. You know, it would have been easy to come up. It would have been easy to become discouraged, and give up. But I had an idea, a vision, and I wasn't going to quit. 6 months without a deal didn't make me a loser, but quitting would have. And I'm not a loser. But I persevered and it started coming together. During the Christmas holidays of 2010, I sat down and I broke down my whole strategy into its smallest elements and rewrote my whole approach. Look, what I'd been using before and hadn't worked. The method I was using didn't work, so I had to change something. I had to change it. No use keep doing the same thing and expect it to work. It didn't. So I changed it and I came at it from a new direction, a completely new direction, new strategy, everything. And on the first working day of the year, I hit the road with a new strategy. And during the first 7 months of 2011 alone, the first 7 months, I acquired 48 properties using options. The most I paid for any property, including the fuel to go and see them, was 55 quid. Can you imagine that? You imagine getting a property for 10 years, the lease option for 10 years for 55 quid. And that's the most I paid. And that was it actually wasn't one property. There was 2 flats in a block of flats in Lease. It was owned by another investor. And the two 1-bed flats came together. So I got the 2 flats for 55 quid. How about that? So look, even if you have enough cash, you'll buy 48 properties. You can't get that many mortgages. You certainly couldn't do it in 7 months. Anyway, during August of that year, I wrote my book. That's my book. It's available. You can get it if you want it. It's on Amazon and that Kindle. You can buy the book, or you can get it through me. So, how to acquire properties with just £1 each. That's my book. And then in September, I started speaking at property investor events around the country about lease options. Now, very few people have ever heard of them, but today they're common and pretty well everybody has. So during my many speaking engagements around the country, I made a point, and I still do, make a point of saying to property investors, experienced and newcomers, that if you don't use options as a way of building your portfolio, you are losing out big time. Options are the closest thing to free money you will ever find. If you want to be in property, you must be doing lease options. It's the only way. And the more you get into them, the more you realize how true that is when you start realizing how much money you make. Now, I'm telling you this to illustrate how an idea can turn into reality with imagination, desire, and focused action. Creating this reality from my idea didn't just change my life. Like I said, I've completed 96 option deals now, and I made a lot of money. It's also helping other people who are now using options too. So what is a lease option and how does it work? A lot of people don't know, so I'm going to go through it. Because a lot of people think they know and they have the wrong idea anyway. Okay, let's get going. And first I'll tell you basically what a lease option contract is and how it works. It's a contract in 3 parts. And the main part is lease contract, with which you lease a property. The second is the option part of the contract, which gives you an option to buy the property. And the third is the power of attorney, which gives you legal rights of the contract and the homeowner. Incidentally, let me get a bee out of my bonnet right now. You will no doubt have heard options referred to as purchase lease options or PLOs, right? Of course you have. Let me tell you something. There's no such thing as a purchase lease option. They don't exist. That name was coined by someone who I know, but I'm not going to mention, who didn't really know what they were talking about. And I'll explain why. I've already explained that the main part of the contract is the lease part, with which you lease a property. And the second is the option part of the contract, which gives you the option to purchase, lease option. When people say purchase lease option, they're getting it wrong because the purchase is contained within the option. You have the option to purchase, right? So lease is to lease with an option to purchase, lease option, not purchase to buy, lease to lease, option to buy. It's obviously wrong. Lease option is the correct term. So it's wrong both grammatically and factually. So please don't use it. And please tell others not to use it when you see them using it. And not only that, but when they do, you'll know that they don't really understand options. And you might think it doesn't matter. But if you're using the term with people who do know, like commercial estate agents, who use lease options all the time, they'll just assume you don't know what you're talking about and you won't be taken seriously. If you're going to do something, do it right. That's my mind. It doesn't matter what you do. If you're going to do it right. And don't call lease options purchase lease options. It's a load of frigging nonsense. So the contract gives you the right to lease a property for up to 20 years. That's the legal maximum, 20 years. And that's known as the option period. And the option gives you the right to buy the property at the price stipulated in the contract, which is known as a purchase price. And that can be any price, and it can be set at the time of the start of the contract. Now, why you want to do this is because you will know, if you've been in property, that on average, a residential property doubles in value every 8 to 10 years. Let's say 10 years. It doubles in value every 10 years. So if you've got an option to, let's say you do a lease option on a property that's worth £100,000 today, and you have the option to buy it at today's price, that means in 10 years' time, that property could be worth 500,000, and you have the right to that £250,000 equity in there. You don't get that with rent to rent. And this is what you should be thinking about. This is one of the most valuable things about it. You don't have to buy it, but of course, why wouldn't you? But if you do, the homeowner can't refuse, they cannot refuse. But you can have a problem here if in the contract you set let's say you set the purchase price at £250,000, and 10 years later when you want to buy it, it's worth 500. The homeowner's unlikely to want to do it because they can see that there's £250,000 worth of equity there, and they're likely not going to want to sell it and lose that equity. And they could either refuse, which means an expensive court case, or they might just disappear, so they can't sign the papers. Now, this is where the power of attorney comes in. It gives you the right to sign the sale papers on behalf of the seller. So it makes no difference whether they do sign or not. You still get your sale. It doesn't matter if they disappear. If they refuse point blank to sign the papers, you can sign the papers on their behalf. That is the power of the power of attorney. Now do you see how important the power of attorney is in the contract? Now do you see how missing it out of the contract is suicidal? What would you think of a solicitor who did that, who left it out? And how good would you think the contract is? And believe me, I've seen lease option contracts out there with no power of attorney in it at all. That tells you that the solicitor doesn't know what he's doing. Right, let's get you a property. Now, you know, people often ask me, why would anybody want to sign a lease option contract for their house? I'll tell you straight. It's because it answers their need. You know, people worry endlessly about negotiation in general and about negotiation lease option contracts in particular. They think it's too difficult, but let me tell you something, it's not. It's easy. All you have to do is find out what the vendor needs, not wants, needs, and give it to them. So give them what they need, and everybody's selling something as a need, a motivation of some degree, and your job is to find out what that motivation is and how strong it is. And believe me when I tell you that it's not always money, far from it. This is another pet thing of mine, if you go into every negotiation thinking it's all about money, you're going to lose a lot of deals because you're not answering their need. You've got to find out what their need is. So how do you find out what their need is, what their hot button is? How do you find out? Simple. You ask them. So, Mr. Homeowner, what exactly do you need from me today to enable you to close this deal and move on with your life? Simple as that, or words to that effect. And you'll be surprised how often the answer comes back as, and this is 90% of the times I get this, I just want to get this damn mortgage off my back. That's it. That's what people want, not the money. They want to get this damn mortgage off their back. To which you answer, well, if I can do that for you, do we have the basis of a deal? And then they say, yes. And you're there away. You see the ways of doing things, and you need to bring things down to the basics and not overcomplicate stuff and not worry about stuff. It's not all about money. Find out what they want and give it them. You know, if you can't give them exactly what they need, get as close to it as you can without giving too much away. But always remember, there are plenty of deals around. You don't have to close every one. Not important. Be prepared to walk away. Having the mindset that you can walk away puts you in a very strong position. Of course, knowing in advance what the hot button is makes the whole game even easier for you. And I'll show you how to do it. Okay, so you know you need motivated sellers, right? But you don't know what makes them motivated or how to find them. That's a common problem. So let's think about this. What is the biggest problem for someone who is trying to sell something? In this case, a house. Well, it's not selling it, right? There's nothing worse than trying to sell something and no one seeming to be interested in it. Soul destroying, and if money is involved, it can be financially ruining too. But these people are definitely motivated, so let's find some. Now I'm going to ask you a question. If you want to find ducks, quack, quack, ducks, where's the best place to look for them? A duck pond, right? Obvious. We want property, so let's look at Rightmove. And we can put in any area, any city or town, but remember, the further north you go, the higher your return on investment. Remember that, it's very important. And remember, you're a business person, you're in business here. So let's look at this. We've gone on to Rightmove here, and I just put in Coventry. I put in Coventry here. You can put in what you want. It doesn't matter. They're all much the same, and you get much the same results from anywhere you put in, including London. Makes no difference. So I just entered Coventry. It could be anywhere. Now in the data boxes, you need to put within 1 or 3 miles of the city centre, depending on your criteria. Select no minimum and no maximum price, so any price, and 4 bedrooms at minimum with no maximum on the number of bedrooms. Okay. Then under the property types, click detached, semi-detached, and terraced, as you can see there. Now select filters and click new home, retirement home, and buying schemes. Not because we want them, but because we don't want them at this stage. Click done, and the first listing appears. And there we go, it's the first page. Now with the sort box there, where it's normally set on highest price, change that to oldest listed. And that means the properties that have been on sale for the longest time will show. Scroll down till you find a suitable property. And here's one that I found just about 3 houses down. It's in Lithalls Lane, Coventry. I don't know the area, but it looks like a decent place. It's got a garage, it's got a decent sized kitchen. It was first listed August last year, so it's been showing for 9 months without selling. Think the owner wants to sell? After 9 months, you'd think he does. The agent certainly does, because it's just costing their money, advertising it and not selling it. Let's have a look inside it. Now, look at that kitchen. It's lovely. It doesn't really need updating. It's a lovely big range, big size. There's a bedroom, and this is typical of the whole house. It's not bad. It looks pretty spacious, okay? What's important here, though, is what the pictures show that people don't realise. It's showing that the property is empty, not being lived in. Now, clearly, if he lived there before, he's moved on, and he could well be paying 2 mortgages. But even if he was letting it, he's still paying a mortgage, but there's no income from the property. So how urgently do you think the homeowner wants to sell? What do you think his hot button is? The mortgage? Yeah, more than likely. So now you find a property with a motivated seller, and you have a pretty good idea what his hot button is. So now you can plan your strategy. For the first seller, let's just have another look around just to show you that this isn't a one-off. Let's have a look. Here's another one. Look. This also is in Coventry, and this was further down the page. This is one on the first page. And this is one, it doesn't look too bad. It's clean, it's got 4 bedroom, and it's been advertised since December last year. So whilst that's not a long time, it's still long enough, and it could still be a problem for the vendor. So let's have a look inside. Lovely big lounge, fairly, it needs a makeover, magnolia walls. But that's no big deal. A makeover is no big deal. It doesn't cost a lot of money. It's big, look. So again, we see that it's empty, which is what we're looking for, because that could mean that the sale isn't in a chain, which is also what we want. We don't want properties in a chain. Of course, that could have changed since the photo was taken. There could be somebody in it, and that sometimes happens. But all it needs to confirm that is a phone call to the agent, and that's the next step. You see how we're setting things up to make it easy for us, rather than just looking at properties and then going and trying to negotiate a discount through the estate agent. We're not doing it that way. Right, the next step is to acquire the property using a lease option contract. If your heart is sinking right now, don't worry, because it's far easier than you think. Far easier than you would ever think. We don't have time right now to go exactly into how we do that because it'll take all night. But you can always come on one of my courses where I go into every detail of how to do it. So the important thing here is that we get an option contract set up, complete with purchase price and the length of the contract. Now, the length of the contract isn't important right now, and you don't want to risk losing the deal by insisting on 10 years when the vendor only wants 6 months. Go with the 6 months or whatever they want. Yes, we know that's nowhere near long enough for our purposes, but it doesn't matter, because we have a clause in our contract that no other contract has that I've ever seen that allows us to arbitrarily increase the contract term for as long as we want, and the vendor can't do anything about it. So once you've got the contract signed for 6 months, you can then extend it up to 10 years if you want to, and there's nothing he can do about it. Okay, so now we have control of the property, which is what we want, And that is the first slice of bread in our sandwich, right? Okay, so who's feeling peckish? So you fancy a property sandwich? A sandwich lease option is the name of this strategy. This strategy, I call it a sandwich lease option, or lease today, buy tomorrow. And it's much the same thing, rent today, buy later, anything like this. They all mean the same thing. But sandwich lease option, I came up with some years ago. Right, let's get on with making a sandwich. And the next step is to prepare the top slice of bread. And that is to find the tenant. Now, usually you just get any tenant you can find, or you convert the house into a 5-bed HMO. And you already know from our previous webinars why that isn't a great idea anymore. But we're not going with that old stale white bread this time. We want quality, thick sliced, wholemeal bread. And that means a different kind of tenant. Let me divert for a minute and talk about the property ladder, and in particular, generation rent. Now, here was an article that was in the Mail a couple of years ago. Despair of generation rent, it says. At the same age, their parents were proud homeowners, but countless well-paid professionals are trapped in rental limbo, fearing they'll never afford a mortgage. 71% of people born in 1970 were homeowners by the age of 40. Just 47% of people born in 1990 will buy a home by the same age. The number of homes being built does not match demand, inflating prices, and the price is set to continue to rise and create a generation of home renters. And it's a fact, and it's a problem for a lot of people. Here's a lady, this is a true story, a true lady, Lucy Ridgely. She put money aside for a deposit. She had the money she needed for a deposit. Was told she couldn't get a mortgage because she was on a temporary 2-year contract. I think she was a nurse on a two-year contract. She was on a temporary 2-year contract, and that wouldn't allow her to get a mortgage. There's another lady here, Rachel Lewis. I grew up in a lovely house with a big garden. I took it for granted that one day I'd have a house like this. Now it seems like a pipe dream. We've been waiting for weeks for the fan to be repaired, but the agency says it needs permission from the landlord, which always seems to take a very long time because he lives in New Zealand, says Rachel 26. We're each saving £200 a month for a deposit, but the house prices keep rising, so it feels like we'll always be playing catch up. I grew up in a lovely house in a nice area with a big garden. I took it for granted one day I'd have a house like that. Now it seems like a pipe dream. Rachel and Alex could afford the mortgage repayments. Their problem is saving the £20,000 they need for a deposit on a £200,000 house. Because as we said, the house price goes up and the deposit needed goes up. Here's another one as well. This country has traditionally been a society of homeowners, but we're creating a generation that can no longer expect that same security. And this is by Betsy Dillner, Director of Campaign Group Generation Rent. Betsy Dillner, Director of Campaign Group Generation Rent, which lobbies on behalf of tenants for decent and affordable privately let properties, says it is those at the point of starting families who struggle most. Always remember something. Every problem needs a solution, and providing that solution means a profit. Now, our solution to the generation rent problem is to find the people who want to buy but can't buy yet, and give them both an interim and a final solution to their problem. So we supply them with a property that they will want to buy later, to lease now, and with a fixed purchase price so they can finally manage to save the deposit. So we do this by writing another lease option contract, this time between ourselves and the incoming tenant. That is our top slice of bread of our sandwich. The filling is the terms of that contract, and it's up to us to make it as juicy as possible. Okay, and this is how we do that. So think about the benefits to the tenant. They've got security of tenure. They haven't just got an AST, they've got a lease option, so they know they've got security of tenure. You're not going to throw them out. That's going to make them feel happier. They've got a feeling of safety. Because of that, they don't have to worry all the time. They can upgrade the property. Now, normally, if you're in a rented property, you're not going to do anything to the house to upgrade it. It's up to the landlord to do that. But you see, it helps them when they come to buy it down the line. So they might want to say, put the conservatory on the back which might add 10 or 15,000 pounds to the value of the property. But as we'll show you later, that helps them down the line when they come to buy the property. Fantastic. They'll benefit from that equity increase, as I just mentioned. They will benefit from that, and they know it will be theirs one day. They know it will be their home one day, and they're happy, they're content. Now, what about the benefits to us? Well, you know that the rent's always going to be paid, and it's going to be paid on time. There'll be no voids, because they don't want to spoil things, do they? They'll maintain the property. They'll maintain the property at their cost. They'll keep it looking nice because they're going to buy it. They could pay you a move-in fee. That could be anything between £500 and £5,000, depending on the property. That's something you don't get anywhere else. Higher than local rent charge because they've got the security and all that, and you're not charging a rent. They're not actually paying a rent. They're paying a fee based on a lease option. So they're paying a lease fee, not a rent. So you're not bound by local rental laws, and you can charge 50% higher than local rent, and you'll get it because they'll be happy to pay it. Think about that. There's going to be no management fees because you don't need it managed because there's nothing to manage. There's going to be nothing to manage because there's going to be no tenant hassles. They're going to be perfect tenants. And of course, you get a financial payout when the tenant buys. Now this is fantastic because when you sign the original lease option, let's say it's worth £250,000, you might say to your incoming tenant, you can buy it for £350,000. How long do you think you need? 3 years. Let's make it a 5-year lease option. So anytime in that 5 years, Mrs. Tenant or Mr. Tenant, you can buy this property for £350,000. Now that means that you're going to make £100,000 out of it, plus all what you've made in the meantime, the extra you made in the meantime. And the beauty is that you don't have to buy it in order to sell it to them. You can actually agent here, and you can sell it directly from the original homeowner directly to the tenant and take your cut out of the middle without having to buy it first. How good is that? Hey, whoop, everyone's a winner. Everyone's a winner here, and it works fantastically. It takes all the effort, it takes all the strain out of property. No more chasing people and scruffy tenants and dirty people and trying to get your rent and going to court and all the rest of the nonsense and none of it. It's an easy way to get, to hold, to manage property, and you make even more money doing it. Remember, you get the property free in the first place. It costs you anything. How about that? So, times change, perceptions change, and you need to keep up with the changes or else. Now, remember what I said earlier when I was trying to do lease options and I couldn't make them work? Decided to do things a different way. You've got to change things. If you want your life to be different, you have to change the way you look at life, the way you do things. It won't change on its own. It doesn't. Newton's first law of physics says that. A property at rest or a property in movement travels in a straight line unless it's acted upon by an outside force. Your life will go on in the same way unless it's acted upon by an outside force. And that's how there can be a massive car smash or you're getting your head together and start to change the way you do things, right? Don't like to be crude, but you know how it is. I think you'll agree that really is an incredible strategy. It's probably no one else is doing. And I came up with the idea many years ago when I brought these options over here from America, and it was such a natural progression of thinking for me. Another idea, let's do it, and I went and did it. And it turned out to be an incredible strategy. Of course, there's a lot more to it than we can cover in a webinar, so here's an idea for you. How would you like to be shown everything, and I mean absolutely everything you need to know about sandwich lease options, as the strategy is known, sandwich lease options, including the killer word-by-word phrasing you need to smash the negotiations with the vendor, the estate agent, and the tenant? How would you like to know how to impress the estate agent so much that they're actually in awe of you and they never stand a chance? And how would you like all the paperwork you need for the entire process absolutely free, including the contracts themselves? And the contracts will cost you £1,500 plus VAT from a solicitor, and I promise you they will not be as good as mine. And not only that, but I'll go through the contracts with you so that you understand them 100%. How does that sound? If you'd like that, how about I put on a day's course together, a big course together where you can get all that, and I mean all that information, meaning that you can go out the very next day and get stuck right into Sammy's lease options. How does that sound? Well, guess what? I've got a course coming up. It's so Saturday the 21st of May. And I think you'll agree that it will be an incredible day's course. I think you know by now that I always give value for money. So if you ever get stuck afterwards, I'm always available to help. And I know for a fact that no one else ever does that. Just think how great you'd feel waking up the next day and knowing without any doubt that you have a proven money-making property investing strategy that you know inside out, can't fail at, and have professional backup completely free if you need it, because you got me to help you. Just let's look at what you'll get for the value here. You'll get in-depth training on the day. This is what you're going to get. You'll get in-depth training on a little-known cash-rich strategy, Sammy's lease options. And what's the value to that? Who knows? But you'll get everything you need to know about everything that you need to know. And you'll know more than pretty well anybody else out there, I promise you, after that. You'll get the confidence that lets you handle the whole deal quickly, concisely, and professionally on your terms. Value? Who knows? I don't know. How to impress everyone. And I don't mean just agents, so that they're completely in awe of you and you crush every deal. I can get you feeling like that. I can get you working like that. What's the value of that? Who knows, but it's enormous. You get all the contracts and the knowledge of them in depth, plus all the associated paperwork, everything you need. What's the value of that? Well, I'll tell you the minimum value of that is £2,000. If you go to a solicitor, you'll pay that plus a VAT. And they won't be as good as mine, I know, because I've seen pretty well every other lease option contract out there, and some of them are, a lot of them are borrowed portions straight from my contracts. A lot of them are just complete nonsense, to be honest. You also get the chance to set up in business as a partner with John and myself. So you could get the chance to go into a limited company partnership with John and I, us and you, together in property. How much do you think? What's the value of that? Who knows, but a lot. You'd like that, wouldn't you? You have the opportunity to grab your life and finally make the kind of permanent changes you've been searching for so long. You finally get off your backside. You can finally make it happen. What's the value of that? I don't know. Who knows? Look, I don't care if you're the most skeptical person in the room, but if you are, even you must realize that this is an opportunity that you rarely come across. But whilst you're pondering, I want you to think about this. Whether you come on this course or not won't change my life one little bit. Won't make any difference to me whatsoever. But it could change your life. Well, I think you're beginning to realize now what I'm like, how I grab opportunities, how I think outside the box, and how I'm not afraid of taking chances. And how being associated with me could only be beneficial in a big way for you. You've heard that expression, if you're the smartest person in the room, get out of the room, right? And birds of a feather flock together. I think you realise that hanging out on a park bench boozing with the local wasters isn't going to benefit you in any way. You know, you're not going to do that. You wouldn't hang around with them. You don't want to be hanging around either with people who aren't successful, who aren't looking like they're going to be successful. If you want to be successful, then hang out with people who have a success mindset and learn from them. Right. I know you're all gagging through how much this course is going to cost you, right? So I'll tell you. £475. That's it. There's no extras. There's no upsells to another course to learn the rest of the stuff. Just £475 gets you everything you need to know. Now, it may be that you're one of the people considering joining my personal mentoring program at the moment. But if you're wondering if you haven't, because you're wondering if it's going to be value for money, and now you're wondering if this strategy is covered in this training, yes, it is. This strategy is part of our mentoring program. So here's an opportunity for you. Here's an idea for you. Come on the course, £475. Come on our course, and that will give you a chance to see how we work and how we get on. And if you then feel confident, you can join our mentoring program and have the chance to join John and I in business. And if you do join our mentoring program, we'll give you back your course fee. How about that? Doesn't get much better than that, does it? Oh yes, wait a minute, it does. I didn't mention that you could set up rent today, own tomorrow as your very own business, using that name if you want, because I've registered these names, but you can have permission to use them or some derivative of them. And we'll help you to do that. We'll help you to set up in business using this, how to rent today and own later, own tomorrow. We'll give you this fantastic book that you can give to your prospective tenants. The book is copyright, obviously. And this is a how-to book, and it explains to the tenant, you just give it to the tenant. It explains to the tenant what their problem is and how you can solve it, and sells the whole idea to them. This is the icing on the cake of this business idea, because it converts a prospect to the whole idea, and it'll blow you away when you see it as well. I'm telling you, you read this book and you'll be amazed. Now, you'll have the rights to print the book and to use it in your business. And this could be your chance to get your life moving and start making a real income and building up your portfolio and your assets. This book's a game changer. It does all the hard work for you. We'll help you set up your business website so that when a lead comes in, you just send out the book and hey presto, job done. It's so easy, it's ridiculous, and it's almost impossible to go wrong with it. So copy this link to register. If you want to come on a course, copy that link. pika.uk.com/sandwich-course. Make a note of that. You'll have to write it down. It's on Saturday, 21st of May, and make a note of that, because this course is going to, when you think that a certain big property investing organisation at the moment has just done a 3-day course for £3,000 plus VAT, you'll see the value of this. And all they do on that, I promise you, is try and sell their coaching course, their 12-month coaching course. So there's a link for the webinar. Like I said, it's £475 for the day, and you can pay for it all at once, or you can pay for it in 2 instalments of £240 each. It's up to you. So when you click that link, you'll get the choice: one instalment of £475, or you can do 2 instalments a week apart at £240 each. It's entirely up to you. Now, we're not like every other company out there. You know the ones I mean, the ones you can't get hold of on Monday morning when you have a problem or a question. Doesn't that just wind you up? You spend good money on a course, you don't get all the information you need unless you spend more money on another course, and then you can never get hold of the host in person. I think that's criminal. That doesn't happen with us. We guarantee that you get everything you need on this course: how to source the deals, how to negotiate the deals, how to set them up, all the paperwork, including the contracts. In fact, nothing is left out. You can go right out the next day and start using this strategy. And if you need help or have a question, you can get hold of me personally, because you'll have my personal mobile number. Pretty good, eh? Write the link down so you have it handy, but always remember that if you decide later that you need it and you've lost a link, you can always get it by calling me or mailing me, right? Because you'll have my number. Now I'm going to tell you something. You need a reason why and to take action, and then you can expect your life to change, right? Nonsense. We all know about the hosts who talk about having a reason why, taking actions. If you've been to meetings around the country, you've heard people spouting that nonsense. It's spouted by people who really don't know what they're talking about. They just heard it spouted at them at a meeting and they decided to use it. Well, I'm going to tell you a story now about how having a reason why and taking action isn't enough. I've told this story before, so if you've already heard it, please bear with me. Now, it's true, I was attending a course in an hotel a few years ago when I noticed a life or death struggle that was taking place just a few feet away. It's true. There was a life or death struggle and it was taking place just a few feet away from me. And there was a bee inside the hotel, and it really, really wanted to get outside. He probably figured it was going to be easy because, well, he could see his goal. It was right there on the other side of the window. There was his objective. It was a garden filled with flowers and pollen that he really, really wanted. And he tried. Boy, did he try. He kept backing off and flying headfirst into the glass. Occasionally he'd stop and walk over the glass inspecting it. Then he started his mad assault again. He tried and he failed countless times. And each time he failed, he came back harder and harder, not realizing that each failed attempt, each extra surge of energy was in fact having the exact opposite result to his aim. Instead of reaching his goal, he was just becoming weaker and weaker. Whilst this was going on, I was listening to the speaker, who was telling us that in order to succeed, we need a reason why and to take action. Anyway, the bee was confused. If you could think, he was probably wondering where it all went wrong. I mean, he had a goal. He was absolutely focused on achieving that goal. He even had a reason why. He had to do his bit for the hive, right? He was committed and he kept working harder and harder, not realizing that he and his dreams were going to die right there on that windowsill. He didn't know, of course, what glass was. He thought that because he could see his goal and knew where it was and that he wanted to reach it, that taking action and working harder and harder will get him there. That invisible wall, though, was his undoing. He'd never make it. But if he'd had enough foresight to stand back and take a look at his dream from a new perspective, he might have realized that not far away was another set of windows, one of which was open. His dream, his goal, was just a few wing beats away. He only remembered what he'd been told. Just work harder, commit yourself, and focus on your goal. You know, I see many speakers. I read a lot of books. I've lost count of the times that I've seen that kind of stuff all over the place. It's just fine as far as it goes, but it neglects the one fundamental problem that 90% of the population face, the glass window, or in our case, our limiting beliefs. And those are the little thoughts that live in our subconscious mind. They've been on my previous webinars. You know what I'm talking about here. You know, when your parents said to you growing up, you know, money can't buy happiness, the evil rich and all the rest of that nonsense. Money doesn't grow on trees. All these negative things about money, they sink into your subconscious mind. And you can't help, but it affects your life. And you go through your life and you're wondering, you try different things to try and make money, and it don't seem to work, and you don't know why. And it's because of these subconscious beliefs in this stuff in your mind. And you need money to live on, but it allows just enough money in your life to get by, you know, for a car and a holiday, but it doesn't allow you enough to become wealthy. You need to change those limiting beliefs. That's one of the things we do. One of the many things we do in our mentoring is we identify the limiting beliefs that hold people back, and we remove them. And once they're removed, it's like taking the brakes off on a car. Now there's nothing to stop you going. Now you put your foot down and away you go. You know, it's crazy to pay good money just to be told that you need a reason why to take action and then expect your life to change. You need more than that. You need help. If you can't become successful on your own, and not everybody can, and there's no shame in that whatsoever, then you need a mentor who knows what he's doing. That's why all the top business people and sports people in the world, without exemption, use the services of a personal mentor. Look, at the very, very least, you need someone you can call and talk to, and that's how we operate our business. What goes around comes around, and we know that helping other people will ultimately benefit us too. So yes, anyone can become successful, no matter who or what you are. Anyone can, as long as you go about it in the right way. Look, it really doesn't matter who you are or what you are. It doesn't matter who your parents are, that's irrelevant. It absolutely makes no difference what your ethnicity or your religion is, absolutely not. It makes no difference what your education level is, whether you went to uni or not, it's totally irrelevant. It doesn't even matter if you're a good person or a bad person. Anyone can become wealthy and successful. You've just got to get your head in the right place. Simple. It's just knowing how to do it, of course, isn't it? So, personal mentoring is your guarantee to success. Grant Cardone, you've heard of Grant Cardone. He was an undercover billionaire on American TV. He was a guy who, for 10 years, he was a homeless drug addict. Then he went on one of these places where they cure you, got a job as a salesman, learned about sales, and the rest is history. And he says he learned that most people waste too much time between an initial idea and its execution. It's critical to stop adding unnecessary time in the middle, he says. you need to go as fast as possible from idea to execution. Why? Because sitting around thinking about it allows all those negative thoughts to take root, and before you know it, you convince yourself it doesn't work. Don't think you're too smart to need a mentor. Don't think you're too smart. And definitely don't think you'll start when you get the money, because you'll be waiting forever. Now you can keep stumbling around in the dark and getting nowhere, or you can bite the bullet and get stuck in. Whatever you do, don't waste time listening to Nobby. You know who Nobby is? He's a little chimp on your shoulder who whispers in your ear saying things, that won't work, no good for you, you can't do that. It's all right for other people, they know what they're doing. You don't know, you haven't got a clue. You never made it work before, you can't, all that negative stuff. Forget it. Don't listen to Nobby, because the more you listen to him, the more you'll hesitate doing stuff. The more you hesitate, the more likely it is you're not going to do it at all. If you're one of these people who waste time thinking about things, remember this. The only thing to procrastination is put it off till tomorrow. And procrastination is the only thing you should put off till tomorrow. Now, personal mentoring gives you skills and it gives you confidence to help you succeed in property investment. Not just in property investment, by the way, but in life in general, because we give you so much more than just property investment. That's only a small part of it. That's just the result of a life change. We're going to give you the life change. And we do 3 months, we do 6 months, we do 12-month programs. Contact us. Get hold of me, phone me, write to me, it doesn't matter. And you can have a chat. Now, our personal mentoring fees are not expensive and they work out cheaper than doing it by yourself. And it's far, far quicker. Now, on the programs, this is what we include. It's one-to-one, unlimited mentoring with me. It's not 30 people in a room once a month in Birmingham with some bloke you don't know telling you a strategy you don't care about. That's not mentoring, that's coaching. You get support in sourcing deals and identifying property investment opportunities. You get guidance in buying, selling and growing your property portfolio. You get resources including legal contracts, documentation and introduction to estate agents. You get training and support in implementing strategies, including lease options. You get to develop a successful mindset, and something that I've never actually told anybody about before. Now, I'm going to tell you now. You get to learn that your portfolio, as you build it, you'll learn how you can legally, and I stress legally, not pay any income tax on the income from it. How does that grab you? I stress it, I don't do anything illegal, I can't afford to. But I will show you exactly how you can build your portfolio and never pay any UK income tax on it whatsoever, quite legally, 100% legally. This is the way all the MPs and all the rest of them work. That's how you can. I'm going to show you how you can do that. You'll learn that on the mentoring. Now, I ask this with every webinar. I ask this question because this is a life-changing question. How would you feel if you woke up tomorrow morning and you knew, without any shadow of a doubt, that you would be 100% successful in everything you attempted? How would you feel? Wouldn't that change your life? It would. You know it would. It would change the way you think about yourself. It would change the way you think about other people. It would change the way you think about business. It would change the way that you think about life. It would change the way everybody else looks at you as well, because you would suddenly be a different person. By now, you're not worrying about something. Oh, will it work? Maybe it will. You'll just do, yeah, there's a deal. Sort it out in your head. Just go into it and do it. And it will be successful. And you know it's going to be successful. And we guarantee that we will have you thinking like that. That will be your way of life after 12 months on our personal mentoring program. We guarantee that. That's happened to other people, and you may even meet people that's who's changed because of that in their life. And we've done that. It does it. Not only that, but we said you can get, if you come on the course and then you do the mentoring, you can get your course fees back. Well, you can even get 100% of your mentoring fees back as well. How about that? How do you have to get all this training and it's free? Well, this is how it's going to work. Look, we're looking for people to work with us in a 50-50 business partnership. That's you, John, and I working together in a business partnership. Now, do you think you could be successful and make money if you were partners in business with John and myself? Of course you would. We've both got massive amounts of business acumen and experience. John in social media and marketing and IT and all that kind of stuff, and me obviously with business in general and with property in particular. I want you to remember this: if you do come into business with us, remember it's in our interest that you are as successful as possible. Because if you don't make money, we don't make money because we're in business together. So we're going to do everything we can to make you as successful as you possibly can be. Now do you see the potential in working with us? Now do you see the potential in getting your finger out and get going? Now do you see the potential in stop worrying about stuff and just getting on with it? Now do you see the potential in coming on the course? Now do you see the potential in mentoring with us? Now do you see the potential in coming to business with us? Because this could be the change in your life that you need, that you've been looking for. And if you don't do it with us, who else are you going to do it with? You're not getting this offer with anybody else, I promise you that, and you know that. Look, I'll tell you something. If you're going to spend the rest of your life sitting around thinking you can't do it, you don't know how, you'll start when I get the money. When you get the money, it's all right for him, but you don't success. Seriously. Hate to say it, but you don't deserve it. If you're going to think like that for all your life, then you're never going to do anything you don't success, and you'll never get it. The sooner you start, the better, because success breeds success. It does. Everybody knows that. The more successful you become, the more confident you become, the more confident you are, the better you manage yourself, and the more successful you become. And it's an endless cycle, it's a loop. You know that. You know it is. So call or email me to discuss how we can help you achieve your goals. You know, my details, if you haven't got the details already, they're on the first slide. They'll be available at the end. You can get them at the end as well. There's no commitment and there's no sales talk. It's just good, honest information and advice. But remember, at some point, you have to change. You won't change on your own. You'll need help. Now, these are exciting times for Pika, and you should want to be a part of our success. We are growing massively. We're changing. We're branching out. We're growing. We're going to become more and more successful. And we've been around for 14 years or something. You could be a part of our success. Okay? It's entirely up to you. Now, here's a Q and answer session. Anybody got any questions? Then let's hear them.
Thank you very much for that. I hope everyone found it of interest and value and know how to build their perfect sandwich now. Great stuff. So just looking through the questions, I see Paul's asked a question. Paul has asked Peter, does the POA require that you need minimum term for the option or evidence that you've tried to contact the vendor before you sign it in their absence?
Nope, none whatsoever. Power of attorney is just that. You have the right to sign on their behalf. You would have a witness, of course, because you know all contracts have a witness. That's all. The witness can be anybody. But no, you don't need to contact them. Just like you've got the right to extend the contract period the example I use there, from 6 months to 10 years. You can do that. You don't have to tell the owner that you're going to. It's polite to do it, of course. You don't have to by law. You just do it. You've got power of attorney.
Oh, hi, great. Peter. Hi, John.
Yeah. Hi, Paul. Over to you.
Hi, it's Paul here. I've got a quick question, Peter, for you, if I may.
Yes, go ahead, Paul.
Great stuff. You've got a tenant buyer in, taking some money off them. What would you do if they didn't pay?
If the tenant buyer didn't pay?
Yes.
You mean if they didn't pay what? Didn't pay the rent?
Yes, stop paying the rent.
Oh, you just cancel it. You have normally a contract. In any contract you normally see, they're safe for both sides, so you can't get out of it. But you in this contract that you'll have on your side, you'll have the right to cancel a contract for any for anything that they do wrong and not paying the rent. With a 14-day, 14 days gives you the right to cancel it with them, which means that you keep all the money you've made from them already, including the fee they paid you, and you just find somebody else and you start all over again because you've still got the property. Okay,
great stuff. I got that. I'm asking because I went through this particular exercise. They did stop paying. They didn't pay for about 18 months.
Oh, God.
I had to go to court to get them out.
Yeah.
That cost about $2 or $3 grand to actually get done, because of all the tenants' rights.
Yeah. Were they on a lease option or an AST?
Yeah, both.
Can't be both. It's a lease option or an AST.
Well, they had a 6 months renewable AST with an option to purchase.
Right. Okay. All right.
And they just stopped paying.
Yeah. The reason you had to go to court was because you had an AST. If you do it with a lease option, you don't need that. They're as soon as because they're not renting, and obviously the laws regarding renting a property are different to leasing it and all the rest of it.
Right.
As soon as you cancel their right to live there, then they have to leave, and that they can't hang around like a renter.
Right. So it's more like a repossession.
Yeah, it's very, very similar to that. Yeah, in fact, it is the same as repossession. Yeah.
Right. Okay. It's just that the judge said, "Well, you're kicking a family out of the home," and it made me feel like a bit of a rogue, really, for doing so. But 18 months later, and $3 grand worth of legal costs, and a house that looked like a zoo when they'd left.
Yeah. Now you know exactly why we use lease options.
Right.
You don't get all these problems that you get with normal tenants. You don't get them through a lease option. They don't exist.
Right. Got it. Okay. So is that like the management arrangement type thing as well that I've heard somebody purport?
Is what? Sorry?
Is that like a management arrangement as well? Like I've heard, I think one of the legal guys purport.
There is a management section in your initial lease option with the homeowner. In that you agree to manage the property on their behalf.
Yes.
And there's a reason for that. If you don't have that in there, and this is what a lot of solicitors I've got no clue about, no idea about, legally, if you don't have that in there, and almost all other lease options I've seen don't have it in, then legally all the money that comes in from the tenant belongs to the owner and not you. And they can go to court and claim all that money back from you, and there's not a thing you can do about it. So the reason we have the management part of the lease option is to quash that on the head.
Understood.
What I say is, look, you can't negotiate any contract, doesn't matter what it is, you can't negotiate a contract if you don't know what's in it, you don't know the terms of it. You need to know a contract. And for anybody to try and go do a lease option deal without knowing without even having seen a lease option contract, you've got no chance. And this is the big problem I have with these other people out there putting on courses, lease option courses. And when it comes to the subject of the contract, what they tell you is this: oh, just do a heads of terms, give it to your solicitor and let him sort it out. And that's where you fail. Because I'll tell you what, even if it gets as far as that, when that A4 big brown envelope comes through the homeowner's letterbox line on the floor and they read it, they start reading this power of attorney in it, they'll phone up and cancel it, and that happens every time that fails. Yeah. So you need to know what's in it. And this is why I say, when you come on my course, we go through that contract so you understand it word for word. You know where the little bits are that favour you, the little bits are that don't favour the other person, and nothing's hidden. I quit saying nothing's hidden away in small writing. Everything's there in the same print all the way through it. But we know there's written in a way that solicitors can't see it. They don't see it, and that's up to them. That's their fault. Not reading it properly. All right.
That's great. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks very much for that question, Paul. Really good question to ask. So just working my way through the chat box, we've got a question from Sean. It says, "Hi Peter, is it possible to join your 3-month mentorship program and then extend it to another 6 or 12 months as we go?"
Yes, it will. Yeah, it will. I somebody asked this question a while ago. They said, I want to join your program, but I can only afford 3 months. Can I extend it for a month after that? No, because it's either 3 months or a 6 month. So if you want to extend it beyond 3 months, then it's going to go by another 3 months. So you can do it for 6 months and add 3 months, or you can do it for 3 months and add 6 months, whatever you want to. The reason we do this is because you know better than I how far along the property journey you are and how much you think you'll need, how much help you'll think you need. And I don't want to push you into 12 months if you're smart enough that you can do it in 3 months. We're not here to make money out of you. We were trying to be fair. So that's why we say we offer a 3 month. Yeah, you can join the 3 month, but if after 3 months you find out that actually there's far more in it than you realise and you need more time, then it'll be another 3 months on top of that. Okay?
Okay, thanks very much, Peter. So just working my way up the chat box again. So we got a question from Gio earlier on in the presentation, Peter.
Yeah.
And the question is, do you need the consent from the owner before you do the lease option agreement? So do you need the consent from the owner before you do the lease option agreement?
Do you mean the second lease option agreement with the tenant? I assume that's what you mean. No, you don't.
No. Okay, great stuff.
No, you don't need anybody. You've got power of attorney. You can do what you want with that lease option agreement. Like I say, I don't have time to go into it tonight. You really need to, you would learn so much back when on the course about this. I mean, for a fact, this lease option contract itself is negotiable. That means you don't have to sell the property. You can sell the option contract itself. So you might go and do a free lease option deal with a homeowner. It costs you nothing to get it. They just your posts and your fuel to go and see that kind of stuff. But then you can sell it for 20,000 quid. You can sell a contract for 20,000 quid. It's easy. There's so many ways of making money. You don't need anybody's permission to do that. You can the option contract itself is assignable, so you don't have to. And if you want to sell the property, you don't have to buy it first, which is fantastic. You don't have to go through the buying process. You have to waste a lot of money. You don't have to pay stamp duty and all the rest of it. You can actually sell it as the agent because you've got the power of attorney to do it. That's the beauty about this lease option contract. It's a work of art. It's a beautiful piece of legal phrase. You need to see this lease option contract. It's fantastic. I say so myself. It really is. You see it.
Excellent. Thanks very much for that. And Gio, if you do need any further information regarding that, please feel free to drop us an email or message us directly on LinkedIn, and we do our best to answer your questions there. So just working back to the start of the chat box now. So we do have a question, and it is, how soon after the course is it realistic for me to acquire my first lease option deal?
You can go out the very next day. In fact, when the course finishes, you can get straight onto Rightmove and start looking through it. On the Monday, the next working day, you can start calling. Not first thing Monday morning. Never call a lease option first thing on a Monday morning. We're going to show you all this stuff about first time to call, best time to call them, what to say to them. You'll know what and how to say to them. You'll know all that, but you'll do that the week. You can very, very easy. I've been doing, let me tell you, this is a fact. I've been doing for 10 years or 12 years, whatever it is, 12 years now, I've been doing lease option courses. Almost every single course I've done, I've had somebody, one person, who goes out and gets a deal the following week, in the following 5 days. Always. I don't think I've ever missed a course where somebody's done it. Yes, it can be done. It can be done easily. And it's very, very realistic. But it's like anything else in life. You've got to get off your backside and do it. I'll tell you straight, 98% of people who go on courses do nothing with the information. That kills me, it really does. Because I make sure that what you get is enough for you. It's everything I know. I can't give you any more because I give you everything I know. Everything I know to do it, and I've done all those lease option deals, you can go out and do them. And if you get stuck, you just call me. I don't care if it's 8 o'clock on a Sunday evening. If you've got a question that needs answering because you've got a meeting on a Monday morning, you need an answer to it, you call me and I'll take your call. I'm not one of these people you can't get hold of. It's important to me that you're successful. So, yes, you've got everything you need to go out and start doing the deals the very next working day. The thing's on a Saturday, so it won't be a Sunday, but you could do the background work on a Sunday and start calling on the Monday. Absolutely 100%.
Great. So struggling to get myself off mute there. That's great. Thanks for that, Peter. And again, another good question. So thanks very much for that. Just Peter, while we're waiting, perhaps if there's one or two more questions, please just send them through still. We've still got a few more minutes on the call. But Peter, perhaps you could bring up the slide where it's got your details on. So if anybody does want to perhaps jot those down.
I'll put those up now. Just a minute.
Great stuff. And just for everyone's convenience, I'll put a link as well in the chat about halfway through the presentation, a link to the website where you can register your interest in the training courses.
I'll put that along a couple of minutes. I'll put the link up to the sandwich course again, and also to our previous webinars that people can look back at and watch through if they want to. So I'll put that up in a couple of minutes.
That's a great point. Sorry, just interrupting there, Peter. So we were doing these webinars every week, and they've now moved to once a month. But all our previous webinars are on the website, on the PICA website. So please go on there. Please have a listen through, and hopefully, it's of valuable information to you all. And I've just seen one more question come through. So Peter, when they're undergoing the membership mentoring, sorry, with you, do you suggest that we get started in our own capacity or as a limited company?
Well, start initially in your own capacity. There's no harm in that whatsoever. The beauty about, the beauty about having a lease option is that you can change it afterwards. So whilst you might do, and in fact, I always suggest that you do a lease option in your own personal name initially, because that gives a lot of confidence to the person you're doing it with. They don't feel they're dealing with a an anonymous company. The fact that later on you can actually change that lease option deal and do another lease option deal with yourself or with your own company is irrelevant. You can do that, and I do that all the time. And in fact, that's one of the ways of getting your properties offshore, which you are going to love when you hear about that. I'll tell you.
Great stuff. Thanks, Peter. And again, it's probably my kind of marketing side coming out here, but this is kind of where LinkedIn helps as well, because LinkedIn is kind of like your own personal brand. It's got all your contact details, it's got your credibility as well. So, if you've attended a training course with us or with someone else, of course, you can get your certificate up there, you can put your experience on there as well. So again, I think it's probably a bit easier now as well than it might have been a few years ago to initially start off yourself in your own capacity and then obviously move forward to a limited company afterwards.
Actually, John, I've just seen a couple of questions here from Wenzeng at the bottom, which I'll answer if you like. Now, the first question is, why would a landlord agree to power of attorney and allowing you to extend the lease? And the simple answer is because it solves their problem. It solves the landlord's problem. And if they don't, then they're stuck in the mire that they're in. They're motivated. Remember, you're speaking to motivated sellers. They need to get rid of this property. When you come on the course, all these questions get answered. I explain to you exactly why or exactly what you say to a landlord. When a landlord says, "What's this about the power of attorney?" I explain to you exactly word for word what you say to him, so that he's convinced it's happy. Okay, and allowing you to extend the lease. Well, I'll tell you very quickly. It's very simple. So someone says, "Well, why do you want to extend the lease?" Well, you can say, "Well, look, in 6 months' time, nobody knows what's happening to the economy. There's a war going on there. It could happen and the market crashes, and I may not be able to buy your property in 6 months' time for some reason. We may need a little more time afterwards, and this just gives us a cushion just in case anything goes wrong with the property market. Is that okay?" And they say, "Oh yeah, that's fine." If you answer these questions in the right way, they're not a problem. And they're not a problem because I've done 96 of them and far more than that when you consider all the students I've helped with them as well. Got close on 200 now. So, and then when it also says, why do you say conversion to HMO is not a good idea anymore? Go on the website and read through the previous, watch the previous webinars, you'll find out. But basically, as I said at the beginning of this webinar tonight, the only way you're going to get a property usually is not by buying these days. You're going to buy rent to rent. Rent to rent's one of the worst strategies you could possibly use. It costs you a lot of money. There's a lot of money involved in it. You waste a lot of money. You'll make 20, 30, 40, 50 times the money by using a lease option. There's absolutely no point. There's no point in doing rent to rent when you can use an option. And if you still want to convert to an HMO, you can. But HMOs, unless you've got a lot of money these days to make them really something that you'd want to live in and never leave, then you're going to have tenants who aren't the best tenants. So you've got to do it properly, to go the co-living route and do it properly. Where they've got coffee bars and big open areas to relax in. Office blocks converted is what we're talking about here. Then you don't want to do it. You don't want to do it on a small scale anymore because there's not enough money in it anymore and too much risk.
Okay, great. Well, just looking at the time, obviously conscious of everyone's time, but I just wanted to thank you all for spending the evening with us. Hope you've all enjoyed it. It's been great to see you here. We will hope to do these meetings once a month now. Of course, please go onto our website as well. It's had a recent redevelopment, so hopefully you'll like it and find it kind of easy to navigate through in comparison to before. And all the old webinars, all the previous webinars and this one too, will be up on the website there, so you can go through that in your own time. If you don't have any further questions or want any information, just please drop us an email or connect with us on LinkedIn. Also, if you did want to download the chat, which you might find that quite useful, so you can kind of network with each other, there's 3 little dots in the bottom right corner of the chat. If you just click on there and click save, it'll go directly to your desktop, I believe. So that might be quite handy for you. In fact, Peter, I've just seen the last question from Paul here. So I'll just read this out to you. It might be a joke, actually. So I think we'll end on the joke with Paul. So Eric Risto came up to me the other day and said, "Why did you put super glue on my darts?" I said, "You just can't let it go, can you?" There we go. Great way to end the meeting. Thank you very much for that, Paul.
Well, look, to everybody, thanks for turning up. Thanks for sitting through it. I hope you've learned a lot of stuff. I hope you've realised the power and the value in lease options and how you can make so much money with so little effort and so little risk. Really is. I mean, from when I started 36 years ago, and you know, how I went through and did it, and to how it is now, it's a completely different world. But you can get into it. You can get into this with no money, and I literally mean, you know, no money. I'm not talking. You don't need to buy a house anymore. In fact, let me tell you something. Remember this: the purpose of being a property investor is not to own property. The purpose of being a property investor is not to own property, it's to make money. On property just happens to be the vehicle. Unless there's a particular reason for owning something, like owning a freehold, you shouldn't be thinking of it. If you're doing it to make money, then there's far better ways of making even more money than buying it. And you know, now if you've got any questions, I'll put it back to you. You've got the training webinar link there. You can go on there to book. If you get any problems doing it, then email me or give me a phone call. And there's my details, peter@peaker.uk.com. That's my email. You'll get me on that. And there's my mobile, 7739 379 612. That's my phone, and you'll get me, and you can call me anytime, and I'm happy to chat to you. Now, don't say anything else than that. I've got some great response coming back from people. Thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoyed it. You know, if you get any questions tomorrow, give me a call, get through. But listen, whatever you do, please do something. Don't sit through all this and do nothing again. If there's bits you missed, if you came in late and you missed it, go on to the training webinars one here. Go on to that, and by tomorrow afternoon, late tomorrow afternoon, it will be on there. Tonight's webinar, as will all the other webinars we've done, they'll be on there for you to watch. So you'll be able to go through all this again and watch it again and pick up all the ins and tips that you might have missed. So there we go. Thank you very, very much, and good night. And oh, wait, we've got another one coming up. As I say, the sandwich course, the course is on the 21st of May, Saturday 21st of May. Just after that, the week after that, we've got another webinar coming up about how you can get any amount of land and property completely free. You can get full legal title to any amount of land and property completely free. And I'm talking millions and millions of pounds on. How about that? Completely free and completely legal. You don't want to miss that. So keep your eyes out for the emails for that one. Okay, guys. Good night from me.
Good night from me as well. Take care, guys. See you soon. Bye-bye.